Hi everyone, so we are going to make this very cool chevron, sometimes called the ripple stitch bag. I wanted to introduce beginners or new crocheters to the chevron stitch. However, the chevron stitch can be a little daunting for some people. It does require a little bit of math. So I've kind of looked around at different ways to do it and found what I think is the easiest one that you can do as a new learner in crochet, so you can still have this beautiful almost lace-like effect and get that kind of chevron ripple effect as well, but not have to be advanced at crochet or spend too much time doing the math. Can I help you, madam? Yeah, it's pretty simple actually. So you don't need to be afraid of chevrons. They can be difficult, but this is a really nice, easy one that I've worked up. And the first few rows, we're just using US double crochet, which is UK treble crochet, and then the chevrons themselves are really just made up of the same stitch with some skips, some double stitching, and then a very easy decrease stitch, which I'll show you how to do. And then the edging is just US single crochet, UK double crochet, and the same thing with the handle. It's just US single crochet, UK double crochet. So nothing too complicated for anyone. We are using the King Cole Cottonsoft. This is a very soft, very light cotton. The way the bag is worked up is perfectly fine and sturdy. Let me explain how the chevron works. So this particular chevron pattern works in blocks of 9. So if you decide to make this bag bigger, or you want to make a blanket, you do need multiples of 9 to make this stitch properly. So I just want to explain that first. So for the bag, we are going to chain 54. And I'll show you how that works. So just a reminder, we wrap the yarn around our hand of 2 top 3 fingers like an X. Get our hook side down, under the first, over the second, and pull through. And then we just get that tail yarn and pull it closed. And we want it fairly tight against the hook, but we still want to be able to move the yarn. Okay, and remember, I'm always holding my hook with a gentle fingertip grip. I'm not holding it in my hand like that, just gently, because I don't want any finger pain. And usually I'll hold the tail under to begin with, so it doesn't get caught up with the rest of the yarn. So we begin chaining. We yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through, and we just want to do that 54 times. I do recommend that you get some stitch markers. It doesn't have to be these, it could be any kind. You can use paper clips, safety pins, hairpins, whatever you have around the house. You can even use other bits of yarn. But every 10 stitches, put a stitch marker, and it will help you keep your count better. So I've done my 54 chains with my stitch marker every 10 stitches. And then you might see here, this doesn't exactly look like 4, because it's not. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 50 plus 6. So after you do your 54, you're going to add 2. And the reason we do that is to help create our first stitch, which is then going to lift up to make our beginning of our second row. And that will always be a chain 3 at the end, at the beginning of every new row, and it will always count as a stitch. So what we do is we count 1, 2, 3 from the hook. So if you can see that. 1, 2, 3 from the hook, and then 4. So we're going to yarn over. We're going to go into the 4th one from the hook. We're going to yarn over again and pull that through. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's created our first 2 stitches. So we have our US double crochet, UK treble crochet, but we have 2 of them anyway now. So just a little bit of magic. So you'll often see patterns written as chain X amount plus 2 or 3, and that's to help create that first stitch but still maintain your stitch count. Okay, so now we have 2 chains left to our stitch marker, which we can remove at this point. And we just continue with this US double crochet, UK treble all the way down the chain. So we yarn over, we go into the next chain, yarn over, pull through, we have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. And you're just gonna continue that all the way down the chain. And to keep count, you should always count the tops of your stitches, which are these kind of V looking shapes here, or almost like a braid at the top. So we have 1, 2, and then this little bit hanging off here, this chain of 3 always counts as a stitch. So you count all your stitches at the top, 1, 2, whatever, and then always make sure you add that one at the end. Okay, so just keep doing that and reuse your stitch markers every 10 stitches, put them in the top so you know how many stitches, because at the end you should have 54 stitches, and I'll see you at the end of this row. Okay, so here we are again. We have our 54 stitches, and you can see I marked every 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we always want to work these ridges on the front of our bag, on the front of the panels. For us right-handed people, our tail is on the left-hand side. For left-handed people, yours will be on the right-hand side. So this is the front of our work. So just remember, if you're right-handed, your tail should always be hanging down at the left, and if you're left-handed, it should be hanging down at the right. So then when you turn your work, you know whether you need to do a front loop or a back loop to get your ridge. So this is the back of my work because I am right-handed, so now the tail is on the right-hand side, and if you're left-handed when you turned it, it will now be on the left-hand side. So the front of your work is always, the tail is always on the opposite from your dominant hand. So because this is right-handed, we're going to chain 3, and that's our first stitch. So this counts, this whole thing counts as a stitch. So we're now going to work in the front loop only. So when you're looking at your work like this, the front loop is always the one closest to you, and the back loop here is always the one furthest from you. So for the front loop crochet, you would yarn over and go under that front loop, so it comes up between the V like that. Yarn over again and pull through, and then just complete your stitch as normal. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we yarn over, go under the front loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So that's all we're doing all along this row, is front loop only. So now that we're working on the front side for this row, we want to go into the back loop, so that when we're working on this side, we were pushing that ridge forward. We want to do the same thing, but if we worked in the front loop, it would push the ridge to the back. So now we want to push the ridge to the front still, so we want to work in our back loops. So remember, front loop is the loop closest to you, back loop is the one furthest from you. So as always, we chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And if I didn't say it earlier, I'm really sorry, I might have forgotten. Your last stitch on every row goes into the top of your chain 3 from the row below. So always make sure you're putting that last stitch in that very top chain from the row below, but still maintaining your stitch count. So to do back loop only is just the opposite of what we did in the previous row. We yarn over, and we now, instead of going under that front loop, we're going to go hold, so you can see it. We're now going to go into the V from the top and under that back loop. We're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 to complete our stitch. Okay, and it will start to push that forward. So we yarn over, go into the V from the top, under that back loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'll do a couple more just so you can see what that starts to look like. Okay, and you can see it's starting to push the ridge forward now. So this was our front loop only row, this is our back loop only row. So it's creating that nice texture. And we're just going to continue this all the way down. You're going to do your last stitch into the top of the chain, so into that very third chain in your chain 3 from the row below. You're going to turn your work, you're going to chain 3, and you're going to do a second row of front loop only. So this row is back loop only, continue. The next row will be front loop only, and after you have your front loop only row, we will have 4 rows, which completes the bottom of our bag, and then we can begin working our chevrons.